Hello everybody, Will here, back again, more Nerdventures, slight head cold, so my voice is probably going to be a little funky, and I apologize for that. Today we're going to be jumping into this month's previews for October. There was an absence of previews last month because frankly I picked up the book and was thoroughly disappointed in it. Did not find a whole heck of a lot of anything that I was interested in. I think part of that probably comes from the fact that nowadays I am more aware of like leaks and things on Amazon, as I've mentioned before, and so oftentimes by the time something gets into previews, I've already known about it for a while, and it becomes a little bit less enticing. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. And then part of it was I just think the collections weren't really what I was looking for last month. So today we're going to flip through and we're going to talk about what we see, and hopefully there'll be some good little nuggets of information in there. I'm trying a different camera setup of a little bit more directly top down, so please forgive me if I'm fumbling with trying to figure out where everything is, but hopefully it'll give you a better view of what's actually going on some of the pages, and I think it will also let me, like I mentioned before, do some comic reviews in a good way. So let's, without further ado, get into the previews catalog. This is the October one, like I said, which means it came out at the very end of September, last Wednesday of the month. This one has a Justice League versus Suicide Squad crossover. So this, like it says down here, is DC's first crossover book of Rebirth. And then there's, on the back, we have Motor Crush. No idea what that is. High-octane moto thriller that will take readers on one wild badass ride. I know Cam Stewart and Babs Tarr. I don't know Brandon Fletcher, although I think those are all people. I think that is the entire creative team on, like it says up here, Batgirl of Burnside. I think that's the entire creative team on the relaunch of Batgirl at the end of New 52. So looks like some cool stuff on the covers. Let's get into the actual book and see what we can see. Per usual, as we flip through the book alphabetically, we're going to be at Dark Horse first. So let's take a look-see at what Dark Horse is offering up. And first off, right at the beginning, you can see a Legend of Zelda book. As I've mentioned in many previews in the past, Dark Horse does have a focus on comic book stuff, or comic book adaptations of video games, rather. And the Legend of Zelda, they did an interesting thing right here, 2013. They talked about the Hyrule Historia. It was a pretty cool book. It had, like, for the first time, I believe, a like codified Zelda timeline. That sort of actually told you what the hell the order the games were in, which I believe was like a first for Nintendo to actually come out and talk about it. So this book might have some neat little nuggets in it too. We'll see what it actually is. Yeah, so it's the Legend of Zelda Art and Artifacts hardcover. It's interesting because Zelda has had a very funny design to gameplay history, if that makes sense. Like in the sense of, this is art from the original 8-bit one, if you see this kind of anime styling, but obviously it's an NES game and it looks, relatively nothing like that, honestly. Like the pixel art doesn't really capture it. So it's always been interesting to see as they go through the years and to see their kind of the technology be able to keep up, or at least sort of get close to what the concept art is, and obviously post Wind Waker, Twilight Princess and stuff, we get things that are much closer to this. But I think if you're an old school Zelda fan, this looks like it will be a very cool collection, just to see, like, how the artists imagine stuff in the Super Nintendo and NES days versus what it actually looked like. And seems like it's going to be a 9x12, so I think that's around library size. So it looks like a nice oversized library edition size Zelda art book if you're a big fan. And obviously I think March 2017 is the release of the next Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, so should just keep building the hype train, which is nice. I wanted to stop here on this because I honestly don't know what I think about it. I'm confused as to if I'm going to buy it or not. This is the Tomb Raider Archives Volume 1. It is an oversized hardcover, 8x12. So again, I believe that's I don't know if that's library size or I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what the dimensions are of these. But this collects the 1999 Top Cow Tomb Raider series 1 through 15 in an oversized format. It's not a library edition in name, so it's not like a Dark Horse property library edition, but it's funny. There's a lot of good names on this. Like I like Francis Manipul, I like Dan Jurgens, and Andy Park is okay. But the point being that like it's from a time in the late '90s when video games and stuff. I mean, just look at Lara on the cover of this, right? Like this sort of like hyper busty, guns and it's an art style that I'm like not wild about. So I need to hear some people's opinions on this. If you guys know anything about it, please tell me what you think, because it's from a time period that I'm very wary of, and I don't know that I want to dig into. But I like Lara Croft and Tomb Raider like as a character. I've been into the reboot of the games and stuff recently, so I'd be interested to see if it's worth actually checking out. Here's a cool one. This is the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe newspaper comic strips hardcover. Dark Horse, I guess, has the rights to He-Man now, obviously, and to some extent, because they've been publishing a lot of stuff. They did like a mini comic one collection last year that was like all of the mini comics that came with the action figures or something like that. And they've been basically just collecting a lot of different ways. So it looks like this was covered a 4-year period. Masters of the Universe had its own comic strip. I don't recognize any of these creators because it probably was not like a crazy popular strip or anything. But this is going to be a 9x14, so like a oversized hardcover. It says with restored art. It's going to be probably put in like the, I guess maybe extra tall format to like fit, because it looks like what it's going to do is like Sunday strips and daily strips, which is sort of unusual. A lot of times when you get newspaper comics, you get volumes that are just dailies and volumes that are just Sunday strips. But obviously, if this only ran for 4 years, the content is not huge. So looks like it's going to be a collection of Sunday and daily strips, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I am interested in this. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up just because I don't know if it's like considered to be the most quality thing ever. Like just looking at the art on these pages, it looks okay. And 1989 was kind of late for like really solid comic strips, so we'll see. I'm not sure, but if you're a big He-Man fan, that's kind of a cool grab. Here's another one that I wanted to mention. Dark Horse is doing now, seemingly what they're doing with a lot of their properties, is they're doing like these omnibus lines, and for them, they're calling omnibus like thicker trade paperbacks, basically. So their library editions are their oversized, big ones, or their archive ones like we saw with the Lara Croft Tomb Raider archives. But the omnibus editions, which they just did with a Joe Kubert Tarzan, and they are there was earlier in this book a Mass Effect omnibus edition, and then this is the Jesse Marsh Tarzan omnibus. So basically, it seems like a lot of what they had, if you look down here, the Jesse Marsh archives volumes 1, 2, and 3. Dark Horse at one point was putting out these archive editions that were like pretty nice hardcover editions, or DC and Dark Horse were putting out similar ones. So it looks like Dark Horse, now that a lot of those are out of print and a little bit more expensive, it looks like they're sort of value collecting all of these in like these $30 cover tag or price tag books. So it looks very cool. I've seen this around. I've seen the archives, but like I said, I never really wanted to dig into them. But I'm almost certainly going to get this because this is a huge 700-page thing for $30 cover price. So you'll probably be able to get it for somewhere in like the $18 range. And it looks really cool. I mean, it's like a classic. I think more like somewhere in the golden age. I'm not exactly sure what the years are on this, but I believe it is more like late golden age into early silver age stuff before obviously Joe Kubert and everybody else got their hands on Tarzan. So hopefully there's going to be a couple omnis of this, which I'm excited for, because honestly the archive editions are standard size anyway. So if I'm going to be getting a standard size book either way, I don't mind paying like a little bit less for a trade paperback. That's totally fine with me. And then over here we have Eerie Archives, volume 23. They've got to be coming relatively close to wrapping this up. I don't know how many volumes there's going to be, but Eerie and Creepy continue to roll on. They're super awesome books. This one is collecting up through Eerie 113, so eventually I'm going to get those all. And then this is the EC Archives Valor book. I have this book in the Russ Cochran slipcase. I have one that's like piracy. Oh wait, maybe I don't have this. I thought I did. Either way, I guess maybe Valor is one of the ones I don't have. But there's this is one of the, I think, later relaunch ones of EC Archives. Like it was called the new direction or the new wave or something like that. After it relaunched, after the Comics Code was oh, there you go. It's right on the freaking cover, Will, you idiot. A new direction in magazines. So basically, like after the started the Comics Code Authority, there was a lot of stuff that had to change, and EC took a new direction, and this was one of the books that was in their new direction. New Direction failed pretty miserably. There weren't very many produced. In fact, there's only 5 issues of Valor that were ever produced. So there's definitely a slipcase which collects like maybe Valor and then like MD and something. I don't remember, but there is definitely a slipcase that has Valor in it. I just don't have it. I thought I did, but I don't. But like, I mean, amazing art in here. If you look at Al Williamson, Wally Wood, Graham Ingalls, Reed Crandall. I mean, you really can't beat that like art team. It's just a great time period for art. So, yeah, more EC Archives, which is great to see. And it looks like that's about it for Dark Horse. So, a pretty fine day, a pretty fine month. Nothing mind-blowing, but nothing like terrible either. So, I'm pretty satisfied with it. And let's move right into DC. I just wanted to stop on this real quick and say, I think that cover, which I guess is by Brian Ching. I don't know Brian Ching. But Supergirl number 4, this cover I think is one of the worst covers I've ever seen in a professional comic book. It is horrendous. Maybe it's just me. But, I mean, look at the faces and the proportion of the legs and everything. It just looks really amateur. I don't know. Maybe it's just not the style that I like, but yeah. So there's that. And I also wanted to stop right here because this is exactly why I am disappointed in Rebirth. Because one of the books, I'm not going to say only, there are a lot of books that I would love to read when they're collected. But one of the books that I was most looking forward to in Rebirth was Francis Manapul on Trinity. And I thought, that Manapul was going to be doing everything on it because I think he's a fantastic artist, but I don't think he's the best writer in the world. I mean, he's all right. And so it's disappointing to me that already by issue 4, the art and cover is being done by somebody else, Clay Mann, and not Francis Manapul, and he's going to be writing it. So, I had mentioned earlier in my videos that I am concerned about the Rebirth and the amount of like switches that the creative teams go through, even just monthly, and sort of the inconsistency in art and storytelling. And this, I think, is an exact example of what I was talking about, where it's an interesting, piece to me, but I just don't really have that much faith in it staying consistent when you're switching around art teams and who's doing stuff, so quickly. And I don't know. It just bothers me. All right, this also shows us that a bunch of the DC Rebirth collected editions are here. So Aquaman, Batman, Flash, Green Arrow, Nightwing, Superman, Justice League, Green Lanterns, all of those are going to be getting their first trade paperbacks from the Rebirth material. So that is nice to know that DC is on top of the collected edition stuff. I mean, it's not surprising, but this is a cool one. The Green Lantern Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1. It's weird. I'm not really sure, to be honest, exactly what it is, because this content was released earlier, and I had Volume 1 of the original Omnibus. There were originally 2 Silver Age Green Lantern Omnibus, but they were a little thinner than what DC tends to do now, and they also were of poor binding quality, and their cover did not match up with this consistent style of Silver Age Omnibus thing that they're doing. So looks like what DC is doing is they're going to go back and reprint. Basically, this collects all of Volume 1 and then I think half or part of Volume 2 of the original omnibus. So the original Green Lantern Silver Age omnibus line, which I think was just called Green Lantern Omnibus, it's done. It's dead. It's gone. Instead, you're going to get this book, which is going to restart the Silver Age omnibus line at Volume 1 with the, like I said, the content of 1 and 2, a little bit of 2. 1,000 pages, pretty big size for $99. And then they're probably going to move on from there doing more Green Lantern Silver Age stuff. So that's, I honestly am happy about that. I would rather, I'm totally okay with having a new line that matches up spine-wise and matches up content-wise, you know, and size-wise with what they've been putting out previously with the Silver Age stuff. So seems all right to me. This collects Showcase 22 through 24, which is where the Silver Age Green Lantern originally appeared. And then it collects the 1 through 35 Green Lantern series from back in the day, written by Gardner F. Fox and John Broome, with art from Gil Kane, you know, a big contributor on this, great Silver Age artist. So very cool stuff. I'm excited to have this. I had, like I said, I had Volume 1, but I traded it away just because I knew this was coming. And yeah, which could be a good way to collect stuff. Here we have the Justice League of America Bronze Age Omnibus, which I think is pretty cool. This spins directly out of the Silver Age one. So far, DC has 2 Silver Age Justice League of America Omnibus. The second one, I believe, ends on issue 76 or wherever in this bits. And then this one, the Bronze Age, picks up from issue 77 through 113, when Denny O'Neil and Len Wein and Mike Frederick were writing on the title. I don't recognize Dick Dillon and Joe Giella. I know, but not well. So I think it's kind of known as a time, like Denny O'Neil was a big writer back in the early 70s with his Green Lantern, Green Arrow stuff with Neil Adams and a bunch of other things. So it's, when the Justice League became a little darker and kind of 70s, if you know about 70s comics, you can understand what I'm talking about. And yeah, excited to see this once again. Close to 900 pages, $100 price tag, so seems very, very cool. And yeah, that looks like all the collected stuff for DC. I don't really know what this is, the Green Lantern Hal Jordan Emerald Dawn stuff. Emerald Dawn 2. I'm not sure which, but I kind of like the art on that cover. It reminds me of like a late 80s sort of thing. So I'll have to see if anybody knows, let me know. Is this stuff, the Emerald Dawn, is that like from an 80s like reboot or like retelling of Hal Jordan's origin, or is it like a later 90s thing? I don't know. I'm interested. Just based on the cover, it looks like a time period of comics I wouldn't mind getting into, but I don't know anything about it. So let me know what you guys think, and we will move on to Vertigo. I forgot about Vertigo. I doubt there's going to be any collected editions though. Nope. So we'll just move right into IDW. Here's one that I'm interested in, but I don't really know that much about. I've been trying to get a bunch more Judge Dredd stuff in my collection, but there's a lot of different ways to collect it. I am preferring right now to try to find it in the like Rebellion /2000 AD, the complete case files thing, which is just a bunch of like trade paperbacks. But I do know that IDW has been putting out like bigger collections, like, I mean, by bigger, I mean oversized. This is a 9 1/4 by 12 inch oversized hardcover. And they collect Judge Dredd stories based on the artist, I think. So this is the Brendan McCarthy Judge Dredd. I don't know who Brendan McCarthy is, but apparently he's been a groundbreaking force at the forefront of independent comics since the 80s, as well as the TV and film industry, including co-writing and designing Mad Max Fury Road. Well, guess what? I really liked Mad Max Fury Road, so maybe I would like this. But yeah, I mean, it's a neat idea. Like, I know that IDW has a couple other of these oversized hardcover Judge Dredd collections, which again collect by artists rather than like storyline. So I personally would rather read through like as more of a completionist thing, like through the whole thing and jump around from artists rather than jump on one artist's stuff from a number of different time periods. But still looks interesting. If anybody collects these IDW Judge Dredd things, please let me know and tell me what they're like. Here we have another artist editions. Michael, I guess it's William, W.M. Kaluta's Starstruck. I've heard of this series. I know it exists, but I don't know. I've never read it. So this looks like it's going to be... I mean, I know, because I know mostly him as in relation, like it says here, the legendary artist collective known as the Studio, which he had with Barry Windsor Smith and Bernie Wrightson. So I know that these guys were like sort of powerhouse illustrators in like the 70s. Starstruck, I think, has been going on for a long time. It says here since like 1984, and it looks like its new stuff is still being released. Okay, here's what it looks like on this. IDW is going to release a new series in early 2017. So it may have been on a hiatus before now. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know Starstruck that well. But before the release of the new series in 2017, there's going to be this artist edition which collects pieces from the Starstruck universe over the last 30 years, basically. It's going to be a 15 by 20, so like a larger one. I think the standard smaller size artist edition is like a 12 by 17, and then the larger ones are like 15 by 20 or something like that. I believe. That might not be true. But yeah, looks very cool. If you are into Michael Kaluta, then this might be something you want to check out. I don't know him, but I still am interested in just looking at it. I just want to see what it looks like. And yeah, it looks like that's it for IDW. Not a lot of strip reprint stuff, which is a little bit disappointing just because I love to see their Euro comics and Library of American comic stuff. And it looks like it was a little lacking this week or this month, but still cool. So let's move into Image. Just wanted to mention this, the Peter Panzerfaust number 25 finale. I never got on this book, but I had a lot of people recommend it to me. And it looks like so there's going to be 25 issues. I think there was a deluxe hardcover for the first volume for like up through, I don't know, maybe like issue 12, 14, something like that. But I know Curtis Weeby, or Weeb, I don't know how you say it. He has garnered some heat online from comic book fans with stuff that he's done. Like, I know he had I don't really want to like throw accusations around because I don't know exactly what has happened, but I know people were upset with the way he handled the Rat Queens artist stuff. Like, I guess the original artist on Rat Queens had like either domestic abuse or some type of criminal charges that I think were related to that. Like I said, I'm not definitive, so please don't quote me on that. But I know people had a beef with him for some reason, and the way he handled that, I think a lot of people disliked, as well as the fact that he puts lots of books on hiatuses and like never really finishes stories and sort of just like starts something and then moves on, or like sort of craps out on it. So, I mean, here we're seeing obviously it is finishing with issue 25, but I don't know how long it took to get to the 25 issues. I imagine more than 25 months, like it might in a mainstream comic. So I don't know, but if you were into Peter Panzerfaust and maybe you fell off of it because of, like I said, the extended breaks and stuff like that, this might be a cool time to jump back on and just finish it off and then see where we are then. This looks interesting. I don't really know much about it, but it is a Beowulf hardcover. I think it is just basically a retelling of the Beowulf story from back in the way olden days, ye olden days. I wouldn't really mention it or know anything about it, except that the art looks really fantastic on these preview pages. It looks rather lovely. So I don't know if I'm going to pick it up, but it exists, so I thought I would just mention it. And yeah, it looks like that's about it for Image stuff. No, I don't think there was a single collected book outside of the Beowulf one, so nothing super special for me, but still looks interesting. Now that we're in Marvel, let's push this book aside and grab the Marvel book and see what we got. Alright, onwards and upwards with the Marvel Previews book. Seems like there's a lot of relaunches with Marvel now, a lot of new number ones. I guess Guardians of the Galaxy is getting an issue 15 and an issue number 1 in the same month. I don't know. Either way, Marvel has just lost me. You know, I've meant to do this for a while, but I need to go back and talk about talk a little bit more about Marvel's modern stuff, because I feel like I've been unfair to DC, whereas Marvel, honestly, to me at this moment seems like a lot more of a shit show than what DC is doing. So I need to make a video about that eventually. But all this stuff is just a mix of, I don't know, number 1s, number 2s, number 30s, number 13s, number 1s, and relaunches. It's just, there's no consistency in the company-wide stuff. I am, however, very excited for Unworthy Thor. This is a 5-issue miniseries. Looks amazing. I mean, I love Olivier Coipel. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I believe he's French, though. And Jason Aaron's Thor, and like, oh, it's going to be amazing. I'm very excited. I hope that gets an oversized hardcover. Yeah, I mean, this is just fucking everywhere, dude. Like, there's so many books in here. They're so inconsistent in their numbering and where they are in the world, and they're so disconnected and crazy. I am honestly very disappointed with the way that Marvel has handled this stuff. I think they had such a, I don't know what the word is. I think they had such a leg up on DC when DC was relaunching and changing everything, and people were kind of getting sick of the New 52 and the way the Rebirth was handled and stuff. I think they had such a leg up, and I think they just squandered it with like having no company direction and just having all of this stuff go on everywhere, and to me it just doesn't work. It just seems like they're being pulled in 20 different directions with all these different books, and just the inconsistency and the lack of like everything talking to each other, it just doesn't make sense. All right, into the collected editions. Some great stuff here. I was extremely surprised and excited when this leaked early. The Daredevil by Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark Omnibus Volume 1, new printing. The Daredevil Omnibus all of them have been tough to find at one point or another. The Frank Miller stuff has gone out of print and been expensive. The Bendis stuff is expensive now. The Brubaker stuff was expensive up until the relaunch or the announcement of this reprinting. So it's been all over the place. And I guess with the TV show, you know, the Netflix show being so popular, they are sort of getting their shit together to some extent. But I mean, still, it's not consistent. They have a lot of things, you know, the Bendis stuff, for example, that is still out of print and hard to find. But I am very glad that we're getting a Brubaker reprint. I have the second volume. I don't have the first. I'm wondering if that means that the next season of Daredevil is going to be based around this storyline a little more, the Brubaker stuff. I'm not sure. But I really am excited to read this. This collects 82 through 105. So the first 30 issues of the Daredevil Marvel Knights. The first 30 issues. The first 30 issues of Brubaker's run on Daredevil, which continued out of Bendis's, which continued out of Kevin Smith's. Next, we have the War of Kings Prelude Road to War of Kings Omnibus. This is awesome. This is one of the 3 War of Kings Omni that is coming out in the next 6 months. There's the War of Kings proper, and then there's a Road to War of Kings, this one, and then there's a War of Kings Aftermath. And I'm very excited about these. It collects and spreads across the most of the entire modern Marvel Cosmic Universe. I'm not super excited about everything. I think there are parts of it that I'm not going to find that interesting. I've heard that the X-Men stuff from the War of Kings is not that great. But it is going to have the Guardians of the Galaxy and Nova stuff, which ties into all of this cosmic things, and I've heard is really, really great. So I'm excited to see all of that come together. And then here's the Civil War II hardcover, Bendis and a bunch of other guys. I have read middling things about the Civil War II as it has progressed, but maybe it will come together in the end, so I guess we will see. Here's the big one for Marvel this month, is the Star Wars box set slipcase. Marvel has been doing this with, so far I think they did Marvel Firsts, and then there was a Secret Wars one. I believe those were the two that had come out. I don't think there's been more than two. Either way, I think both of those were $500. This one is $350, but still a hefty price tag. And it's basically like a slipcase which has a bunch of standard size hardcover books in it, which collect a complete run on something. Like, for example, the Secret Wars collected the whole Secret Wars things. The Marvel First collected like volume 1 of all of the Marvel Masterworks from the early, launch of stuff in the 60s. And this looks like it's going to have all of the Star Wars movie adaptation stuff. If we turn it sideways, it looks like it's going to have adaptations of 1 through 7. Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, New Hope, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens. And then it looks like it's going to have Shattered Empire. And then it's going to have Star Wars, Skywalker Strikes, and Shadows of the Smuggler Moon. Then the Darth Vader series, and then Heroes for a New Hope, which is Princess Leia, Chewbacca, and Lando, and then the Marvel covers. So, a lot of things. It looks like basically it's going to be a sampling of every sort of thing, like not maybe the most complete way to own some of these, but we'll definitely have... Sorry, I'm yawning. We'll definitely have a lot of cool stuff, and if you are a Star Wars geek and a Marvel geek, then this is probably going to be right up your alley. This one is interesting. I really don't know much about it. The X-Men Legacy Legion Omnibus. I have heard people swear by this run, say it's really great. It collects X-Men Legacy 1 through 24. I believe Legion is the son of... Legion is the son of Professor X. And I think this is like sort of a offshoot weird series, something that's not kind of in like the mainstream X continuity, but that people liked when they read it. So it's cool that we're getting an omnibus of this. I am a big proponent of Marvel collecting these kind of like smaller, runs in hardcover and oversized format. So I'm excited to get this, and I will, whether I like it or not is, we'll see. But I definitely am glad that it exists at this point. And that looks like it's about it for Marvel. Just a bunch of trade paperbacks and stuff like that. Nothing super exciting, but... Oh, Khazar. Oh, it's a new Khazar. Fuck that. So, yeah. Kind of neat stuff. Like I said, all these relaunches and stuff are confusing me. But, Marvel is going to do what they're going to do. So, we'll see how it turns out. All right, and as per usual, we are back with the graphic novel section of this. So, let's take it home. And we will flip through this, see if there's anything worth stopping on and mentioning. As always, I gotta stop on Fantagraphics because there is some greatness going on here. Number one, Life and Legend of Wallace Wood Volume 1. This looks like it's going to be a big, oversized 10 by 12 hardcover, which collects a bunch of different stuff. Looks like part biography, part illustration collection from Wallace Wood, one of my absolute favorite artists. Looks cool. It says it was going to be... It says a mammoth project. It was announced as a single volume. It's now going to be divided into 2 volumes, and this is going to be volume 1. So $40 volume 1 for a hardcover oversize of Wallace Wood stuff. Yes, please. Fantagraphics does not do deep discounts. Probably you won't get it for more than 30% off cover price or something like that. If you're 30% if you're lucky. But it exists and it's awesome. I love Wally Wood and I would love to see more stuff about him. There's also the Guido Crepax, Complete Crepax, The Time Eater, and Other Stories. This is volume 2 of the complete Crepax stuff that Fantagraphics is going to be putting out. Volume 1 was stellar. The art is astonishing. I love him. I've been told it's Crapax with a hard X, so I hope that's true. I don't think they're quite putting this out in order. It seems like they're putting it out more like thematically. I mean, they're putting it out in order in the sense of like, obviously they're going to put out, this is volume 2, so they're going to put it out. But I think it's more that it's having to do with theme stuff and maybe not chronological order of when he actually drew all of these comics. So either way, this is highly recommended. This is like my #1 pick from this month. If you have to get one thing, I think, like, I mean, just look at the art right there. It's astonishing. It's beautiful. They are also, Fantagraphics is continuing to do these EC archives. They're called EC Artist Libraries, where basically they collect stories based around the artist. So this is going to be Will Elder and Al Feldstein, rather, which is all of the Panic stuff. It's basically Will Elder spotlight. All of his Panic stories plus 7 of his science fiction tales and more. They also have tons of different ones available, spotlighting different artists. So if you're interested in EC stuff, and want to see it done, collected in an artist-like way, as in by artist instead of by story, that might be a cool one to check out. Pogo I don't know anything about, but it is comic strips, and Fantagraphics usually has good taste in that, so maybe I'll look it up. But yeah, just wanted to stop by and mention that before we move on. Awesome books, especially the Guido Crapax stuff and the Wally Wood stuff. I mean, if I could pick anything, those would be my guys. Here's a nice one. Vinland Saga is going to return in December 2016 with book 8. I had remembered people were talking about they weren't sure whether this series was going to continue getting published in the US because they didn't know how great the sales were. This is a fantastic series. I've probably only read, I don't know, I read it digitally when I was living abroad for a while, and I loved it. I thought it was great. It's the guy who did Planetes, which I also really, really loved. I don't even see his name on here. Is his name even on this? That's crazy that they would put this ad in here without putting even his name on it. Makoto Yukimura, I guess, but that's only in the copyright. That is really shame on you, honestly, Kodansha, if you're not promoting the creator at all. That's bad. I mean, I should know it, but geez, that's pretty bad. But yeah, Vinland Saga is incredible. If you haven't ever read it, I would really recommend going out and getting the hardcovers. They're like small size, manga size volume hardcovers. But I have up through 5 on my shelf. So I know that there's at least 5 were collected when I stopped collecting them, which was, I don't know, a couple years ago. And yeah, it's coming back with book 8. So glad to see that that's going to be continued to be printed in English, because it deserves a bigger audience for sure. So it looks like we're just about wrapping up the end of this. Nothing that amazing for the rest of this stuff. Some of the people that sometimes publish stuff, Titan, they sometimes have some good stuff, but nothing this month that I'm really that looking forward to. So, seems like an alright month. There were some good collected editions from some of the bigger companies, and honestly, with what Fantagraphics put out this month or has preview in here, like, that's enough to last me for a little while. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I promise you I will be doing flip-throughs of previews more in the future. I just missed last month's because, like I said, it wasn't that appealing to me. And, as things relaunch and restart all the time, it's hard to get collections of new things that much, like, because the series only go for a certain number of issues. So it seems like if DC and Marvel aren't collecting vintage stuff or reprinting things, I feel like they sort of leave the readers who want to read the new stuff in like a little bit of a lurch, but whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Have a great day.